Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're going on a seriously fascinating journey inward. We're exploring a concept that might actually completely flip how you view your own mind. I'm talking about mastering your emotional self. You probably like to think you're totally in control of your fate, right? Consciously planning out your life, making purely logical decisions based on cold, hard facts. Well, today we're going to put that assumption to the test.
It's kind of scary to think about, but are you really the one behind the wheel? The reality is, we're actually pushed and pulled by forces operating way, way below our conscious awareness. We see the aftermath, our thoughts, our shifting moods, our sudden impulsive actions, but we actually have very little conscious access to what's truly driving those emotions. This invisible force dictates our behavior, it makes us cling to ideas that just stroke our ego, and honestly, it often pushes us right into these terrible self-destructive patterns.
Now, to really wrap our heads around this, we need to shift our mindset. The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer put it brilliantly. He suggested that when you encounter some specific trait of, say, meanness or stupidity, whether that's in someone else or even in yourself, you literally can't let it get to you. You have to look at it just like a mineralogist studying a rock specimen. It's just data. It's an addition to your knowledge. We've got to learn to observe human behavior objectively without getting swept up in all the emotional drama.
Which brings us to Section 1, the illusion of rationality. Our roadmap for this deep dive today is Robert Greene's incredible book, The Laws of Human Nature. This text dives way beneath the surface of our everyday interactions to expose what is actually driving us. It's a total game changer for understanding the real, hidden roots of human behavior.
See, we tend to operate under this really comforting little fiction, our conscious will. We love, and I mean absolutely love, to believe we're these rational, long-term planners. But the stark reality? Our hidden emotions are totally running the show. They force us to seek out evidence that just confirms whatever we already want to believe. They literally change what we see based on whatever mood we happen to be in at that moment. And this massive disconnect from reality, that is the exact source of those bad decisions and toxic patterns that seem to just constantly haunt us.
Let's move to Section 2. Meet the stranger within.
Have you ever just completely snapped and said something awful to a coworker and immediately thought, where did that even come from? Or, fallen for the absolute worst person, knowing it was a terrible idea but you just couldn't stop yourself? Well, psychologists call this inner stranger the shadow. It is our repressed dark side, very deep down, and it operates completely independently of our willpower. When life gets stressful and the pressure rises, this shadow gets restless. And because we almost never acknowledge it's there, that stress causes what Robert Greene calls emotional leakage. Basically, tension leaks out as weird, self-destructive behavior or sudden outbursts that we instantly regret.
So there's this massive divide going on inside our minds. On one side, you have the emotional self. It completely thrives on ignorance. It's reactive, it lashes out under stress, and it constantly rushes into decisions. But then, on the flip side, you have the rational self. This side is deep, highly self-aware, totally detached, and deliberate. The catch? That higher rational impulse is a lot weaker. It takes active effort and real insight to tap into, whereas that reactive animalistic side, well, that's incredibly easy to slip right back into.
All right, Section 3, unmasking your hidden biases. So how do you actually catch this shadow in the act? You got to look for the clues. Watch out for unusual brittleness or extreme touchiness in yourself. Are you prone to explosive emotional outbursts? And here's one of the most fascinating signs, projection. Think about it. If you absolutely despise pushy, narcissistic people, it very often means you are secretly brushing up against your own buried desire to be more assertive. We are hypersensitive to traits in other people that we are actively repressing in ourselves. Hating a trait in someone else is honestly a massive red flag pointing right at your own shadow.
Moving on to Section 4. Awaken your inner Athena.
To fight this, you need to cultivate your inner Athena. The ancient Athenian leader Pericles actually realized that to unite his city, he couldn't just keep reacting to the endless drama around him. When someone provoked him, he'd literally retreat for days, just to calm down, waiting for the voice of Athena, the goddess of wisdom, to come to him. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is that rationality is not something you're just born with. No way. It's a learned skill. It's a cultivated higher power of calmness and focus that lets you make decisions based on the greater good rather than just protecting your fragile ego.
So how do we actually build this skill? Well, Robert Greene lays out a super practical 3-step framework to beef up your thinking brain and quiet down that emotional self. Step 1, know yourself thoroughly.
Step 2, examine your emotions to their roots. And step 3, increase your reaction time. Let's break these down real quick.
To truly know yourself and dig into those emotions, you have to look right past the immediate trigger points. Next time you get angry, let that feeling settle for a minute, and then ask yourself, was I triggered by something totally trivial? Because if so, there is absolutely something deeper going on. Maybe it's a really uncomfortable emotion hiding in there, like envy or even paranoia. You have to start recording these self-assessments, maybe in a journal, with brutal, ruthless objectivity. The biggest roadblock here is your own ego. It desperately wants to maintain this comforting illusion that you are the flawless hero of your own movie. You have to actively strip those illusions away, or you'll stay totally blind to reality.
Now, to truly awaken that inner Athena, you have got to increase your reaction time. Normally, a trigger event hits at second 1, and boom, we react instantly. But instead, try this. At the 1-minute mark, physically step back. Remove yourself from the situation. At 24 hours, you sleep on it. You absolutely do not hit send on that angry email, and you don't make that spicy phone call. It's only at 25 hours, or even a few days later, that you formulate your rational response. Think of this timeline like resistance training for your brain. It forces the emotions to cool off and lets actual, true perspective step in.
And finally, Section 5, Taming the Dark Side. Look, the goal here is absolutely not to turn into some suppressed, emotionless robot. We all have this deep, natural desire for power and raw, assertive energy. But you basically have 3 choices for where you put that energy. Choice 1, you can channel it into aggressive, destructive outbursts and ruin your relationships. Choice 2, you can bottle it up, turning that anger inward as self-loathing and depression. Or, the ultimate goal, choice 3, you tame it into controlled aggression. You own your ambitions, but you pour that intense energy into patient, highly skilled work. You turn your vulnerabilities into actual empathy for others. You take those aggressive impulses and you aim them at a worthwhile cause.
This perfectly aligns with a really profound thought from the playwright Anton Chekhov. He said, "Man will only become better when you make him see what he is like." Facing our true and sometimes super dark nature isn't about making us feel guilty, not at all. It is literally the only real path to becoming an integrated, authentic, complete human being. When we finally get that self-knowledge, we stop projecting our junk onto other people, we stop self-sabotaging, and we actually gain genuine tolerance for others, mostly because we realize, hey, we aren't exactly the flawless angels we thought we were either.
So I'm going to leave you with this one thought to chew on. The very next time you feel that sudden white-hot surge of anger or this weird irrational pull to make a terrible decision, just take a breath. Look inward and ask yourself honestly, who is really in control right now? Is it your irrational self, or is it the stranger within? Master your emotions, cultivate that inner Athena, and take back control of your fate. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and keep observing.